Hello TikTokers, I'm the Christian Relationship Counsellor, and today I wanted to ask a question. Do you think you can have a once in a lifetime love twice in a lifetime? Why I was asking the question is I was watching a movie and that phrase came up and it made me think, you know, that's kind of interesting, because some of us, we go into relationships thinking it's going to be a once in a lifetime. When people get married initially, they get married to that person for life and they believe that person is going to be with them until death do us part. So they kind of sign up for a once in a lifetime love. But what sometimes happens is, you know, things don't work out, or the spouse predeceases them, and they realise that what they thought was a once in a lifetime love is no longer once in a lifetime. Some people, when their spouse predeceased them, they kind of forget the reality of that spouse. They place their spouse on a pedestal and they create a kind of memoriam or moratorium. I can't remember the word. Moratorium, that's it. And they kind of put that person on a pedestal and no one can touch that person. And because they're deceased, they can immortalize that person with that memory of perfection. And they do that to shut themselves off from giving themselves a second chance of having a once in a lifetime love. And so many people shut themselves off when they've been hurt. Predeceasing a spouse is one thing. When you lose someone prematurely, that's really, really sad. But sometimes, you know, relationships that end, it can feel like death. You know, you're still lost. Okay, you might be able to see that person, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes that person leaves town and you never get to see them again, and you're left with that empty feeling of saying, I'll never ever love anyone like I love that person. And you shut yourself off from the world. You're afraid to love again. You're afraid to give again. You're afraid, just afraid, really afraid of being disappointed. And so I really wanted to touch on that, because I thought, you know, there's a lot of women out there and men who are afraid to take a second chance at love. They prefer to just shut themselves off and, you know, pretend that the world is just hunky-dory, just the way it is. So I'm just going to read from my notes because that's what I normally do. And I've put here, when someone dies prematurely, we are apt to immortalise them and place them on a pedestal. We forget their flaws and create such a perfect memory of them that no one can compete. They become your shield against hurt and further pain. If a potential approaches you, you shun them, you insult them, you say, you could never step in my spouse's shoes. When they're looking at you for friendship, maybe they're just hoping to get to know you. But you convince yourself that there'll be never anyone like your partner, and nor should they be. You're not looking for a replacement. It's like some people who get married, or the step parents, and the children says, you'll never be my father, or you'll never be my mother, to step parents. No, they won't. I don't think they want to be. They're not trying to replace your mother or your father. They're just there for support. And similarly, when you leave a relationship and somebody wants to come into your life, it's not that they're going to replace who you've lost, but they just want to be there as a support. And if you have something in common, it could be a wonderful chance at love again. So I've put here, you're afraid to be disappointed, afraid they won't come up to scratch, afraid to love again. Proverbs 19 says, giving a second chance to those who have paid their debts is a matter of justice. And that includes you. It's not just somebody else whose debts have been paid off. You have paid your debt by grieving long enough over the loss. Or grieving. I mean, there's no time frame for grief. But you in your mind know whether or not that grief has overextended itself and it's being used as a weapon to protect you against falling in love again and possibly feeling hurt again. So you now need to give yourself a second chance at love. You thought that person was going to be with you for a lifetime, but in Matthew 25:13 it says, "Watch therefore, for you know not the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming." So likewise, you do not know the day or the hour when either you or your spouse or your loved one is going to pass on, is going to leave, something's going to happen, terrible accident. You don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. And that is, when he says you do not know when death is, well, not when he says, when I say, you do not know when death is going to knock at your door and take a loved one. So many women and men are shutting themselves off from a second chance at love, holding on to the perfect love that bounds them beyond the grave. The grave can be physical, it can also be psychological. Either way, you have put your once-in-a-lifetime love to rest, leaving no room for a second chance at another love for a lifetime. Matthew 22:27-30 in the New Living Translation says, "So tell us, whose wife will she be in the resurrection? For all 7 were married to her," Jesus replied. "Your mistake is that you don't know the scriptures and you don't know the power of God. For when the dead rise, they will neither marry nor be given to marriage." And I interpret that to say that you are not betrothed to one individual. Marriage does not mean anything after you die, and you have more than one chance to be happy. Because if they would neither marry or be given to marriage, this is after death. So, you can get yourself caught up with one person, but after death it won't matter. So why wait until after death? Why not try to grapple and give what you were on this earth to give, which is love, and receive love in return? You're not put on this life, in this world, to wither away in a corner, to hide away from the world, to hide away from feelings, to hide away from emotions. You're not a coward. You need to be brave, and it takes bravery to step out there and love again. But the opportunity is there for you. Hebrews 9:28 says, "Christ will appear a second time, not to bear sin, but to bring salvation to those who are waiting for him." Likewise, when you have lost your love of a lifetime, whether through premature death or some other means, you will get a second chance at a once-in-a-lifetime love. Jesus will bring salvation, i.e. joy, to those who are waiting on him. For those who are waiting on love, you will receive it. But if you hide yourself away, you hide your light underneath a bushel, you're not going to get that chance. And there's so many people who would thrive just by having someone to love them. Not everyone is bad. And yes, you're not going to get somebody maybe who knew you as well as the person who's no longer in your life. But you might get someone who knows you in a totally different way, and you have to remember you've grown. So you're different. And if you're the once-in-a-lifetime person had met you now, would it be the same? I'm sure it would be different. So all I'm saying is, not only giving yourself a second chance, but also give other people a chance to get to know you, to just talk. Don't shut the door completely. Just in case you do have a second chance at a once-in-a-lifetime love. I like to think that it exists. But anyway, I'm the Christian Relationship Counsellor. This channel is basically just to kind of raise awareness and just give you food for thought. And I hope you enjoy it. Please subscribe on YouTube, the Christian Relationship Counsellor. And I think that's all. I'll stop now. So bye-bye, and thanks for listening.